I'm a bit nervous. This is my first time doing a podcast.
He's a conservative, just like you. So stop complaining.
You're gonna be fine.
But I kind of locked myself into this whole animation thing. How the hell am I gonna animate an hour-long video?
Well, I mean, you could always not animate it, right?
Oh, but, no, I can't. What about artistic integrity? I mean, I'm a creator, I'm an animator, I'm an artist. I just, what would the internet say? They're all gonna laugh at me. They're all gonna animate an artist. I'm an animator. Like, freedom to what's there just nothing. Oh, right. The pals are just in my head. I guess I'm not going to be interviewed by Denton from Conservative Comedy and his podcast. Oh no. Hello.
Hey man, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, how about me? I changed phones.
Yeah, no, everything's good on my end. It sounds
Okay,
so much
good.
better.
Okay,
Earlier I wasn't able to make it out, and it got to that point where I've asked twice, and I'm like, oh gosh, now I'm gonna ask a third time. What's his name?
I'm sorry,
What's his name?
Well, I found out that this just uploads like kind of like Google, and so it just uploads to their server or whatever, so it doesn't affect my storage at all. So it's fine.
Oh, okay. Very cool. All right, man. Yeah. What's up?
So, what do you want to talk about? Just like I was thinking about did you hear about The Rock?
The Rock. No. What? Enlighten me on this.
Well, they came out and he came out and they published this article saying that he was against snowflakes, and it was from Fox or something, Fox or Breitbart or whatever. And then he came out, he posted an Instagram video and saying it was fake or whatever. Everybody, like all the conservative accounts, was like posting about it, and they're like, "Oh, go The Rock," and then we found out it was fake, and so I had to take down the post that I was.
I don't know. He seems like he would be a good conservative. You know, if we could get The Rock on our team, we're solid.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's better than most Hollywood people. I mean, I feel like.
I would prefer The Rock than Kanye. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, I never did like his music, to be honest with you. Like,
I was a huge fan growing up. Actually,
really?
I was really into when I was in middle school. I went through some interesting phases. I went through kind of the wannabe gangster phase where all I wore was new Jordans, Reebok, Nikes, basketball T-shirts, and sweatbands that all matched. You know, and all I listened to was like hip hop albums.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then to contrast that with, so that was about 6th grade, and then as I got into like 7th and then 8th grade, the 7th grade was a bit of a transition. 8th grade, I became like super emo kid, you know, with the long hair, the like in your face, red, black. Such a weird transition.
My parents would kill me if I did that. To be honest.
Oh man, I actually remember I asked my dad because all the guys in my class when I was in 6th grade were getting like the ear pierced because that was like the cool trend, you know, for guys and whatnot, like getting the I forget what side ear that they were getting pierced, and I was like, can I get my ear pierced? They were like, essentially without saying it, they were just like, no. Gay? Are you gay? You're like, seriously? No homophobia, you know, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think like all the conservatives were freaking about like about Eminem and stuff, but I mean, like I like his music. I mean,
yeah, you know, the thing is with Eminem, like I was a huge fan of him growing up, especially, you know, during like the Clinton era, because he really went after politics. Like he was
he did.
He was like that you know, anti-establishment voice, and now, you know, he's just like F Trump, F this, F that. And it's like, nah, dude, you don't have your edge anymore. You've gotten to that age where now you got to start carrying yourself with a little bit more class and a little bit more dignity, you know? And that's the only way you can survive as you get older like that, you know?
Yeah, I think it's hard to take him seriously when he's like almost 50, you know?
Yeah, exactly. The same thing happening with what was the video that came out with Snoop Dogg? You know?
Yeah. That was bad.
It is. It really is. And it's sad too, because I think it was Terrence Terrence Williams,
Yeah.
he does like those commentary videos. He called him out. He was basically like, "Oh yeah, Snoop, you've got all these years of banging hoes and talking about drugs and violence and all that stuff, and now we're supposed to take your word for it that you're on the moral high ground, talking about negatively about Donald Trump."
Yeah, he's like a grandpa now.
I know, yeah, and it's really interesting segue because it goes right into the heart of Hollywood, and the mainstream leftist media, Hollywood, all these celebrities, they have these delusions of grandeur, and they really cannot see what the heck they're blind to it, honestly.
Yeah, they can't relate to middle America.
No, they can't. No matter how much they try. And the funny thing is that they're all capitalists, and yet they're all touting this kind of liberal socialist ideology. When you got Snoop Dogg, he's got his albums, he's got the TV shows, you got Jay-Z. He's like their portfolios are well diverse.
Yeah, and they all have walls around their.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah. But I introduced you in the intro. I recorded an intro, but if you want to, let's just introduce. We were talking for like 5 minutes. Let's introduce what your page is about, what you do, because you do like a really good job, and I appreciate you drawing my profile picture.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for having me on. Actually, this is actually my first time coming on to doing anything like this. Okay. So it's pretty. Awesome. This is pretty interesting for me, but yeah, my page is the Politipals. I'm worried that I might get flack for using that name, because I think some other podcasts or people have used or coined that phrase, but they're not really. They're not doing it like I do it, so I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it's really hard to find pages with like original content, and yours is all original. So
yeah, I mean. But yeah, I pretty much just do political satire. It started out just doing comic strips, and I've got these different anthropomorphic characters. They're like animals that sort of play into the archetypes of different political and worldview ideologies and all that stuff. So you've got Carl. He's a conservative right-wing bear. He supports the NRA. He's a Bible-believing, Christian, red-blooded American patriot. And then you to contrast that, you have Gustavo, who's the far left, liberal, leftist, democratic, socialist flea. And so between those two, you've got other archetypes like the libertarian rabbit. You've got I added in eventually 3 female characters because I liked the balance. And yay for inclusivity and inclusion. But I did it mostly just for narrative purposes, because I enjoy playing off different characters' archetypes. And for me, I'm not some crazy, awesome creative writer or anything like that, but I've consumed enough media and enough content to know what's good or what's bad. So I at least try to strive for some sense of eloquence or cleverness.
Yeah.
I at least try to follow in the footsteps of South Park, in the way that, in the way that they handle things. Yeah.
And it's easy to consume, like when people are scrolling through Instagram, that you could consume these comics and rather than just writing a big long article or whatever. Yeah.
And I think the cool thing about cartoons, and this is just I'm just a big fan of cartoons, anime. I've grown up watching Dragon Ball Z, Dexter's Laboratory, Cartoon Network, all those those TV shows. And what I love about comedic cartoons is that you can really push the envelope of what is allowed to be said. And take for example, what is it, SpongeBob? I remember, like, SpongeBob is the most. Everybody can do memes about SpongeBob. And some of the most iconic lessons in life that we've learned, or some of the most iconic things that stick with us, are from those episodes that we watched as kids. And so I feel like you can really get away with a lot and say anything with a smile, especially if it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm like looking at your page, and you did a one here a while back about Ben Shapiro. You drew Ben Shapiro with a cowboy hat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was for a while, in a way to kind of grow the account. I've been an artist since I was about 2 years old, just drawing, painting. I did a lot of visual and performing arts growing up as a kid, and one of the ways that I'm trying to grow my account is by using my talents in art. I like doing the comics and the characters and whatnot, but I figured, oh well, let me reach out to accounts. Actually, that's kind of how we got connected. I was reaching out to accounts, and I was like, hey, let me draw something for you, and you give me a shout out. I'm borrowing your credibility because you've got thousands of followers, and I'm this tiny page. I'm still teetering between like 799 and 102, which kind of sucks right now. But I'm just kind of going with it, just seeing where this whole journey takes me.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Ben Shapiro? Like, I get a lot of questions like every day in my DMs about, would you vote for Ben Shapiro? And I don't know if I see him as a presidential figure. I don't know.
It would depend, really. For me, at least, it would depend on who he's up against. Because I have a lot of respect for Ben Shapiro. I think he's a little bit brash sometimes, but that's just in his nature. I mean,
I do too. I mean, he's a really smart individual. Like, he's really educated, and he really knows how to.
Yeah. How old is Ben Shapiro, actually? Because I think he's close to my age, which just when I put that in perspective, it really makes me feel like, damn, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Let's see, Ben Shapiro.
Oh, he's 34.
34.
Oh, his birthday is tomorrow. Weird.
Really? So he could actually run in 2020. So if he wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, he's not much. He's not much older than me. I'm 27 right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll be 28 this year, and yeah, I'm still figuring my life out, and that's weird.
Yeah. I'm 22, and I'm still trying to figure everything out. So it's
Hey man, take it a day at a time. I think it's the 20s are in everybody's life, and I would say more so nowadays in this generation and this political climate. It's hard. It's really hard to kind of solidify yourself and find your footing. Especially with different mental health issues that are going around, and nobody is immune to it. Everybody experiences depression sometimes. Some people experience it to greater degrees than others, but we all got to learn how to buck up and face reality, suck it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah. I like to say, suck it up, snowflake, or something like that.
Yeah. I've alluded to it a little bit through my Politipals characters. Like, I've kind of thrown myself in there as a character. I kind of put myself as the cat version, a little cat avatar, because I'm a huge crazy cat person. I love cats.
Yeah.
I've kind of alluded to a little bit of my own kind of mental health journeys and things like that. Not to go a little too sour here, because I do want to keep it lively, keep it keep it up there. But yeah, I've gone through phases of depression really badly these past few months. Going through a bit of a divorce right now with my wife, which I'm taking it in stride, and I'm learning. And I think that's the important thing is facing reality with a smile, embracing the chaos. And I really, that to me is my worldview is, life is crap. It's going to be crap, and you're going to get, dealt a bad hand sometimes, but you can't just cower away. Yes, take your time. Not everybody's expecting you to, be chipper and happy all the time. Like, I get that. You got to take your moments and take breaks. Like, if I'm not beating myself up for the fact that, I'm going to sleep in and be under the covers because I don't feel like engaging with the world today, but the next day I better get my ass up, but,
absolutely, man. Yeah. I've dealt with that too. And I totally understand. I mean, I don't know anything about a divorce, but I mean, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Really tough.
Yeah. And, but you know what? I think that's why people need to laugh.
Yeah,
people definitely need to laugh more.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people on my page, like when I started posting, like, it's comedy, but I try to post like serious stuff too, because I don't want to laugh be all comedy. Like I tried to switch it up, but people was like, switch to the comedy. I'm like, well, I mean, there's real issues going on, and I want to talk about it. I mean, it's not all fun and games for me.
How do you feel about like just the general atmosphere of Politigram? Because I've noticed they tend to be very NPC. You know,
Yeah.
even
I mean,
even the conservatives.
People complain about the left having NPCs, but the right has them too.
Yeah, and
so
it's
I'm trying
equally annoying.
I'm trying to be like this whole free thinking movement. We mentioned Kanye earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
like I'm trying to be that.
Yeah.
That for this year.
Yeah, you know, and that's something I've really begun to notice, that you got these crazy right wingers, you know, just to put it bluntly, and you do have the crazy left wingers, and they can't even begin to understand how similar they are in their approach to their worldviews. They're very dogmatic, and you know, one will attack Donald Trump and the right to the death, and then the other will defend Donald Trump to the death, even and not call out the moments where, you know, maybe he did do something that's a little bit off base. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but I don't hate him. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that you can have that balance. You know, you could like some things and not like some things.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really focusing on that this year, just being less of a conservative but more of a free thinker, and just kind of seeing what, you know, like just not being like NBC, I guess, or whatever, just saying the same. Because I mean, I know I did that the past 2018 or whatever.
I would imagine that kind of grows the account more, right? Where you're getting a bunch of followers that are coming just for the memes, just for like the, you know, Ben Shapiro owns kind of videos, and I would agree with you.
I'm kind of tired of that. I mean, I just kind of want to be, you know, just a free thinker or whatever, just kind of like it's okay to call Donald Trump out on his crap. I mean, I did it whenever he banned bum stocks or whatever,
right?
And I got a bunch of hate from that. I mean, that's like the Second Amendment is a big thing for me, and that's just how I felt about it. If people didn't like it, then that's fine, you know.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of getting my gun permit or license or whatever you call it out here. I'm in the crazy liberal progressive New York State.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
We've got a lot of our battles ahead of us with Governor Cuomo and all the stuff that he's doing out here. So I have the paperwork. I have to. It's a crazy process to get it. Like I can get a shotgun or a rifle, you know, no problem out here. You know, all you need is your valid driver's license and be of age. But yeah, I do want my handgun, mostly because I just want it. You know, it's my Second Amendment right. I should have it. You know, why not?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And you know, it's interesting though, because I wasn't always like this. Actually, prior to 2016, prior to the election, I kind of kept my head in the sand. Didn't really want to get involved politically wise. You know, I remember I would have conversations with family members, like my uncle. He would be like, "Oh, you need to vote. You need to, you know, do your civic duty and get out there and vote. These young kids and blah blah blah." And I'd be like, whatever. The government sucks. Everybody's, you know, lying to you anyway, and yada yada yada. But after seeing Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, you know, debating, I was met with this challenge where I realized, all right, on one hand, I really don't trust Hillary Clinton. Like, there's just something about her that it doesn't seem right, you know? And then, with Donald Trump, I remember this. I would have a lot of debates with my father, you know, because my mom and dad were very much, you know, they were like, you know, Trump, he's standing up for Christians, and he's gonna really, you know, push, you know, the things that I agree with and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, but and I would start repeating things that I heard from like CNN and all these kind of leftist medias, where at the time I didn't realize how far biased they were. And so at the time I was very anti-Trump because I was just spewing out the nonsense that I was hearing. And then after he won and all of that stuff, I kind of took a good hard look at what was going on, because I remember there was protests and all this stuff that erupted like the night of his we found out he won. There was like people in the streets saying, "Not my president, not my president." And I'm just like, okay, but he is.
Yeah, he is.
But he is. So, do we want to, try our best to, make him fail? Because if he fails, then we fail as a country. So let's give him a shot. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And the more that I started researching, the more that I got into just learning about American history, I think that's really what expanded and opened up the door for me to, kind of like you're saying, is become a free, independent thinker, and I began noticing the idiosyncrasies, the humorous absurdities that happen in politics, and then that's kind of how I got into just making these little comics, mostly out of fun, because I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. Let's start with that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Like, I didn't care about politics until I think 2016, everybody got interested in it, and that's how I got into it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up mostly conservative, so I kind of went to the right side. I actually voted for Ted Cruz, but then I voted for Donald Trump in the primary, whatever. So
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have met me or talked to me like way before 2016, probably like, when, I don't know, 2014, during the Obama era and all that stuff, I was not politically driven, but I held a lot of leftist views. I was I hung out with a lot of LGBTQAAIP, two-spirited, and just in the where I live too, is just that was the general atmosphere, and I kind of forced it, mostly just to save face and not to get into arguments with people. So I stayed very PC. I was very, very much into, marijuana and, legalize it, which I still hold true to those things, but I'm a little bit more hesitant to defend it, to a T without getting some basis of information first. And then that's kind of the transition is I went from this very passionate, kind of passive, politico, if you will. And now I'm a little bit more of a free thinker. I want to question everything, get some information, at least get a baseline of facts, which I'm not that good at, at least sourcing and researching very well, but that's part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people that woke up. I mean, I think that's mostly, do you follow The Gay Who Strayed?
What's that?
Do you follow the Gay Who Strayed?
Oh, The Gay Who Strayed. Yes, I've seen.
Do you follow her?
I've seen some stuff on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really know her that well, but she said that she just started to wake up, and there's a lot of people that just woke up just like you did or whatever.
# woke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
How do you feel about people using that? Because
I love it.
I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do too.
I mean, when it comes, and that's the thing too. I'm noticing, at least with the Conservative Party, is because of the wokeness that's happening, and people are # walking away from the Democratic Party and moving away from the left, and like Candace Owens says, the Blexit and all that kind of stuff. There is this mass exodus that's been happening, culturally and just mentally. Like people are understanding the political landscape and the ideologies at play. And I think it's not so much what we're seeing is not so much people going straight into conservatism, but there's this want, this need, this desire for honesty. And we want honesty. We want truth, and it really comes into play with the whole free thinking aspect of things. We're just tired of the bullshit, excuse me, the language. I don't know if,
it's fine. It's fine.
But
no, I put the E for explicit on every episode just in case.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I think people are really getting sick and tired of it. And that's why you're seeing people who are traditionally, on the left and traditionally more liberal kind of coming in and meeting on that middle ground with people that are, normally conservative and, more right wing, because I think there's that sense of, all right, look, we may disagree, but we do agree that, you know, the status quo right now is complete crap. You know, like
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
tired of money in politics. We're tired of you know, lies and hidden agendas, you know, on both sides, you know, and yeah, not to sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but there's probably a lot that the government has hidden from us, you know,
Absolutely.
and that's not something that's outlandish to say.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch Alex Jones all the time. I don't know how you feel about Alex Jones, but
Yeah.
I
didn't watch him very much, but I know
yeah,
he's very memeable, and so I know most of the
yeah,
memes,
absolutely. Yeah.
like the frogs turning gay and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2015 and 16, I used to watch him like I was watching the news.
Mm-hmm.
But then I finally like, okay, well, he might be a little bit crazy,
Yeah.
but he might know what he's talking about on some stuff. But I mean, there's a reason why they shut him down, because he might be a threat to, you know, the mainstream media.
And just that in and of itself, the way that certain things are handled, it makes you question everything. And if you're not questioning everything, then you're sticking your head in the sand. You're letting it happen, and that's not good. You know.
Yeah, I mean, back to like the Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, whenever somebody when President Bush died a month ago or whatever, people when I put on there, rest in peace, thank you for serving our country, and everybody was like, oh, he's part of the elite or whatever. Like, well, yeah, I know, but let's just be like respectful.
Right.
I mean, saw the same thing with John McCain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody said burn in hell, and I was like, that's not what you say when somebody dies.
No,
like,
that's not cool.
So
wasn't he a prisoner of war too?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, come on, show some common respect, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I started to go, okay, maybe I need to like step out of the conservative world and maybe into the free thinking, because just because they disagree with Trump doesn't mean that they're like not a good person or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? I think that's definitely, in terms of finding things that are just completely absurd and funny just to laugh at, being able to sit there in the middle and not saying that we're centrist or anything like that, but just see, you know, from off on the sidelines, look at, you know, the chaos that's happening on the right and chaos that's happening on the left, and just these idiosyncrasies, and laugh at it, I think is it's a good thing, you know. Like I often take jabs at, you know, who I am really, you know, a Christian conservative, you know, I want a lot of the things that they want and whatnot, but I take swings at it because sometimes we can be a little dogmatic too, and a little bit you know, too harsh in our messaging, and a little bit too uninclusive to trying to reach the masses, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, just as a quick kind of little aside, on the subject of religion and Christianity, like, that's a part of me too, is that I question everything, even in the church, you know. And when somebody's preaching on the pulpit and telling me, well, God said this, I'm like, oh yeah, really? Let me find out. Let me look that up, and let me question and research it, and that translates into everything. And sometimes I've realized that does get in my way, and in the past it's turned it manifested as hubris, and so I wasn't very quick to question my own beliefs. You know, I would say, oh, well, you're wrong, and you know, I'm right, and just kind of stand there on my moral high horse, you know. But I think there's a sense of humility that has to come with being a free thinker, where you have to be able to question everything, but also be able to sit there and be like, well, hold on, wait a second. Is there a possibility that I'm wrong? And if so, how can I readjust my way of thinking? You know, and I don't think many people do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just started doing it this year because I realized what I was doing with the page, and it was just, I don't think it was helping, or, you know, maybe it was, I don't know, but I'm starting to not be part of the problem, I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, you know,
No, in terms of
trying to say, but whatever.
Yeah, I completely understand, and you know, that's a challenge that I'm facing with the Politipals. Is how do I balance that act of, you know, obviously I have my own biases, I have my own agenda, as a conservative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also want to make good art and good content. And it's not always easy to face the fact that many people who are out there and consuming the media, all they want is the candy. They want stuff that's easily digestible, that fits to their worldview, and nothing else. And as creators, as content creators, we got to challenge that a little bit and have some integrity in the craft and the art that we're putting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of makes me a little sad though, because I'll see accounts that just blow up. They blow up. I'll see them start off at 100 followers, and then I'll check back a few months later, and then bam, they're at like 10K already. And like, what the heck are they doing? And then I'll scroll through their feeds, and all they're posting is they're pandering to that base that they want to build up the audience for. And I think it's maybe when I look at that, I get a little bit disheartened, but then I try not to let it get to me, because I think I'm like, all right, well then maybe I'm doing something right, because if I am wavering between followers, that means people are coming to my page for something they like, and then maybe they're leaving because they didn't like something else. And for me, that's a good sign, because I want people that are going to stay, that can and are willing to experience things that are on all sides,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm trying to be some middle ground type of thing, but it goes everything to, if you can dish it, you got to be able to take it, and if and I think the conservative party, or people that are more right leaning, are able to take a little bit more critiques of their ideologies rather than the left.
Yeah, I mean, like you saw with the Kevin Hart situation.
Yeah.
Whenever he came out a couple months ago and said, I'm not going to bash Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came out and bashed Trump. And we were on his side whenever he said he's not going to bash Trump, and he came out. And then now we're defending him again with this whole Oscar situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're basically called him a hypocrite, and then we're defending him again. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think he should have apologized or anything for some of those tweets that he had like years ago. I welcome people to find stuff that I've written in the past, because I'll basically own it. I'll be like, yeah, I said that in the past. It is possible to grow up. And I'm not going to apologize for mistakes that were made in the past, because you can be offended. So what? I'm offended 24/7 by some of the things that I see on TV and online and in media, but I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference between, I guess, some of the right and like the left. We can take a joke.
I have this theory actually, and I was just discussing this with he's a good mentor of mine. I tend to actually I loosely modeled one of the characters, Carl, the Christian conservative bear. Loosely modeled him after this gentleman. He runs the organization here out in New York called the New York Faith and Freedom Coalition. And
okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go on. Were you going to say something?
Oh well, I just followed that earlier, or like a couple of days ago, whenever we were talking about it.
Oh yeah, and so I've been a part of that group for a number of months now, and I'm really, that's a side thing, but I am going to be pouring a lot of my energies into helping that grow a little bit more. But suffice it to say, I've been, I look out for good mentors in my life. I'm always striving to find people that are older than me, that know more than me, and so that way they can impart wisdom in me. Because that's the, I think too many people, especially nowadays, the young, they think they are all right and that they know everything. And it's like, no, you don't. People lived here way before you were even born. They lived a life. You gotta be able to, shut your mouth and listen sometimes. But anyway, we were talking about this whole thing. I forget where the study or where I saw it. I wish I could find it. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm not good at citing things and sourcing things, which why I would be terrible in a debate. But I remember reading somewhere it was a study about liberals and progressives and their ways of thinking, and how the right, people that are more conservative and on the right, they have a better idea of what the left thinks, and they can really understand and empathize with the points of view of the left, but the right, but the left wing people can't really rationalize, and they have this skewed sense of what the right wing and conservatives view. And my theory behind that is, I think it was Winston Churchill. Hold on, let me fact check this real quick. A liberal at 20, conservative at 40. Quote. Hold on, just bear with me a moment. Yep, I think it was Churchill. Yeah, it was like, if you aren't a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. But if you aren't a middle-aged conservative, you have no head.
Yeah, I think I heard that before. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And my theory behind that is, if you look at the Democratic Party nowadays, and it really makes for some great comedy. Oh my gosh. They are, I don't know. Do you watch South Park?
I don't. I mean, I isn't like the creators Republican?
I wouldn't say they're Republican, but they're definitely and that's what I'm a huge fan of Trey and Matt Stone, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They really take swings at everybody because they themselves are free thinkers. If they find something funny, they're gonna put it on there.
That's what I appreciate about. I've watched a couple episodes, but like I appreciate what they do, and they take jabs at everybody, and that's what comedy is supposed to be.
Oh yeah.
It's not supposed to be what late night comedy is now,
no.
where it's just basically one side.
Like Jimmy Kimmel coming out saying, "I wish I could come out here and do comedy and jokes and laugh, but and boohoo, cry me, whine me."
Yeah, I just can't watch his show anymore. I think the only person I could watch is Conan.
Mm-hmm. I don't even watch very much late night at all. I'm pretty much exclusively all on internet, like Hulu, YouTube. But anyway, to get back to South Park, they did a really good satire or parody, and I know the two are different, not interchangeable, but they made fun of the left by doing PC babies in one of their later latest episodes, and hopefully no spoilers, but yeah, actually that is a complete spoiler. But anyway, there's these babies that are PC, and so they're going around crying and whining about things that are non-politically correct, and the way they do it is just so hilarious, because when you think about the left and the Democratic Party now, the way that they protest and the way that they're on TV complaining and whining, it is very childish. They're being babies, and there's almost this stunted growth idea behind it. And when you consider the idea that, okay, most of us at a young age, we can empathize with the fact that we see all the chaos in the world, and we want to fix it because we have a heart, and even conservatives, we have a heart, we do want what's best for people. We don't hate people. And even you can't rule that out for the people that are rich either, the elite, if you will. There are probably good people out there that have multi-millions of dollars that are doing good things, helping out through charities and fundraisers and whatnot. And so when you take into that idea that the maturity aspect, as you go from age 20 being a very progressive liberal to age 40 being a well-rounded, good, smart, critical thinking conservative, that seems like a natural progression. But a lot of the left, see Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, and the way that they're acting, it's almost like they have a stunted growth. There's an arrested development that happened, and they kind of stayed stuck on that immature aspect. And it comes down to, if you think about it, like in age, right? You have a child, you have a 16-year-old, and then you have a 40-year-old. The 40-year-old knows what it's like to be a 16-year-old. The 16-year-old does not know what it's like to be a 40-year-old. And that's exactly what you see now with the conservatives being on one end, on end of the ideological spectrum, and then liberals being on the other end of the ideological spectrum. But that's the divide. One can understand the other, but the other can't understand the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, it's kind of a different analogy, but think of it as a really bad drug dealer or a person that is a druggie, and they become a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and they can relate to people that come to church that are addicted to drugs or have an addiction,
Mm-hmm.
but the pastor who went to seminary and had this, you know, cookie cutter life or whatever, like he can't relate to those people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a different analogy, but it's kind of the
No, you're
similar.
completely right, and I think that's too often when we see the what is it, the cannibalism that ends up happening within the two sides, right? You'll have somebody who's just and I'm experiencing this a little bit within the conservative circles that I'm in right now, where I am going into groups where I'm dealing with a lot of people that are twice my age, people that are in their 50s or 60s that have these stringent, right-wing conservative Christian
Yeah.
views. And here I am, a young guy coming in with respect. I do want to learn all I can from them, but I also have a different way of being. And it's because I come from a place of skepticism, of questioning everything, of, I have had some liberal concepts and worldviews in the past. And so it's not that I'm trying to win everybody or play some middle ground, but there's a certain sensitivity that you got to have when you're reaching out to people, and I feel like if I were to talk with somebody who has that more liberal perspective, I can be like, yeah, I relate to that. I understand that. Now let me help you understand my point of view, my perspective, how I've grown. It's just sharing your testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't say a lot of conservatives know what it's like to be liberal, like someone from middle America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they know what it's like to be raised in the coast or like in New York or LA. And I don't either, but I mean, I'm starting to kind of learn how they think or what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially with like the abortion argument or whatever, or like the gun argument. Like I understand like that's a sensitive topic,
Right. Yeah. But you know what? I feel like a lot of these topics are way overblown, and the media, the way that they cover certain things.
Absolutely.
I think that's more my libertarian perspective on things. Like, I feel like the government is way too involved in certain things, way too
Absolutely.
involved.
Yeah.
Like I was just the topic of abortion, right? It's one of those things that I want to touch upon more of in the Politipals comics. I've touched upon it very little, and I always take the stance, and in my abortion, the episodes where I do talk about abortion, I think I've only done one or two. I take a very strong stance that it's immoral. It's immoral, and it's fake feminism. To be pushing for these abortion things, and whatnot. But honestly, my true view on it is that it's gonna happen regardless. There's no stopping. There's no stopping. Adult women and men. As they're in relationships with women, and they want to make that decision. I can disagree with it all I want, and say that it's immoral all I want, but I cannot change the fact that they have the freedom to do what they want. Now, with that said, I don't want to be paying for it with my tax dollars.
Yeah.
And so Planned Parenthood should definitely be defunded by the government, and it should be left to the free market. If they want to open up abortion clinics, do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I feel 100%. Like, I don't want to be paying for it, but if you want to have one, that's fine, but you have to pay for it yourself.
Right. And I don't, that really just, being new to like the whole political landscape and getting out there and into the public discourse, it is going to be interesting.
It is.
But
it is. And
people,
the election's coming up, and
mm-hmm.
it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And I don't understand why people just don't understand that look, we're not saying that you can't have abortions. We're just saying we don't want to pay for it. And we disagree with it morally and ethically. And we really think it's killing babies. But as a nation, we don't want it to be involved in our laws.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a common conservative argument, like abolish abortion. Well, I mean, there's people out there that might want to have that. But, I mean, I don't want to be paying for it, but you can have that if that's how you want to exercise your freedom, then that's your thing, you know.
Yeah, and it is a sad reality, you know, that we do live in a world where, unfortunately, people out there don't think the same way we do, and people out there do rationalize it and say, well, it's not really a life and all of that stuff, and that is sad, but it's a reality we have to accept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I try to like at least, you know, finesse some of these topics and some of these you know, themes when I am working on them in the cartoons and in the comics. One of my favorite things to go after is definitely the whole gender thing. You know, like this is just
like 49 genders.
Oh my god, it's so absurd. Yeah.
They're adding new ones every day.
Yeah, like I did one because I grew up playing Pokemon when I was a kid, you know, and so I remember thinking, gotta catch them all, and Pokemon and whatnot. And so I did an episode where you know, I had Gustavo there. He was talking to Lou, and Lou is the bunny rabbit. He's a libertarian, but he's also like a scientist and inventor. And Lou creates a little Pokemon ball for Gustavo to catch all the genders. So it's like Gendermon or whatever. And he goes off there listing like all the different genders, and it's until the thing explodes. And Lou's just like, yeah, it's really only meant to catch 2.
Yeah, I saw this thing yesterday. I think somebody, I can't remember who posted, but it was like only 90s kids remember, and it has like a selected gender, male and female. Like,
well, you know, even on Instagram, they have the 2 genders. It's just like, okay, you can't have it both ways.
Well, I mean, it's like that shirt on Amazon. It's like there's more than 2 genders, and it's like the options for the sex is like male and female.
Yeah. And it's just like, really, they don't get it, and that's just, it's hilarious. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I mean, those people are so memeable. It's funny.
Or what about how one thing that I've loved with the, you know, for all the stuff that I hate about, you know, the conservative, you know, politogram and all these, you know, people that are just dogmatic about things on the internet, the left cannot meme for crap. They try. No, they try, but they can't, man. They can't.
No, I mean, there's like probably a new conservative meme account open up every day.
Oh yeah.
That follows me, and they reach out to me like, oh, I just started. Can you help me out? Like, but I don't see a liberal version of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And but there probably are, but it's more of just, I'm gonna complain about Trump and bash Trump and, you know, bash the church and you know, it's less like genuine absurdist comedy and more just sticking in line with the agenda that they all follow. You know?
Yeah, I think the only one I found is Occupy Democrats on Facebook. I don't know if they're on Instagram, but they're on Facebook.
There are some, but I tend to get blocked by them once they begin to see that I am a little bit more conservative. The funniest thing actually is I'll oftentimes, especially when dealing with subjects like feminism or abortion or, you know, conservatism and the wall and all that kind of stuff, I'll tag certain things like feminist or things of that sort. And then I'll get comments from these feminist accounts saying like, oh, this is a great photo. And I'm like, thanks for that robotic response. You know?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I get those too.
You really didn't read what this comic is about. You know, I know you didn't.
That's awesome.
and so then what I'll notice is that I'll get like a little splurge of follows, and then it'll go right back down, because I think then they'll go back and they'll see and they're like, oh, he's not an ally.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy with yours because you don't have conservative in like the title, like the username. But mine,
it's I'm sneaky with it, you know. The Politipals. Yeah. We're just pals, right? You know, we're just cuddly little animals.
Yeah, pals. Yeah. And then you get to follow, and you're like, oh, hold on.
But you know, just to balance it out, though, I have done a lot of episodes where I'll poke fun at the hypocrisy of the right-wing conservatives as well. You know, where this, especially the whole, to get into like the Christian aspect of things. It's like, the whole thing on the internet where it's like, oh, a tragedy happens, and it's like, you're in my thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I'll pray for
I don't
you.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're trying to help out. I know they're trying to be respectful, but I mean, it's not like God is like looking at Facebook or Instagram and yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like they're handing out. It's like that photo with like the hungry kids in Africa, where like this photo, and then a hungry kid gets a meal or something.
Oh yeah, because likes are feeding these kids. Out. Yes. I'm sorry. I just had I just imagined, God scrolling through on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's everywhere. I mean, he looks at that kind of stuff.
God, yeah. That's just funny to me. Just imagining God like worried about, oh, did my picture get any likes?
Yeah, like, yeah, I need to feed some kids.
It's like, what? He blocked me?
Yeah. I mean, there's this new show on TV. I don't know if it's on CBS or whatever. It's like God Friended Me.
Oh my gosh.
On Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never watched that, but I just don't like it when TV networks try to.
Oh yeah, and then I think on the same network or maybe another network they have Lucifer, where it's like.
Oh yeah.
It's like
it's on Fox.
Yeah.
I think it's like I think it lasted like one season or something.
I refuse to watch it. I refuse to watch shows like that because I'm just no, you're trying to normalize Satan.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, because I'll watch shows like Supernatural, and I'll watch shows like the new Netflix. I'll watch Walking Dead or the new Netflix Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I thought that was very good and very clever. But when I watch certain shows like that, I do have to have my guard up and not dive into it too well, because they're touching upon some dark things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, and it's not like I'm a superstitious person, but go on. What were you saying?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you follow Mark Dice on YouTube.
No, I haven't heard him.
Okay, well, you should check him out. He covers a lot of. I think he made a video about Lucifer or something, but he's a conservative content creator on YouTube and makes a bunch of videos about the Illuminati and stuff like that, and covers CNN.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of annoying sometimes, but
mm-hmm.
I do watch his videos from time to time. They come out like every day.
Right on.
Morning, like 7 o'clock or something like that. But I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love, and actually, I think that's an interesting thing about, I would say, just being on the, I guess, the older end or the older spectrum of millennial, of being a millennial and whatnot. The generation coming up behind me, I would assume, I guess, you're Generation Z.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm noticing, at least with your generation and the generation but be after you, which is kind of like my nieces or nephews' age. They're in their they're 7 or 8. Like that.
Yeah.
That I don't even know what they're calling that generation, but the atmosphere that they're. What's that?
I don't either. I can't keep up with all the names.
Yeah.
And stuff.
we're so fractioned nowadays, and everybody's looking for labels. And I'm not even good. I don't even like millennials because people use it as a slur. It's racist. Yeah. It's millennialist.
Yeah.
But I have noticed, when I consider how I grew up and the things that really shaped me as a child, I remember when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I saw the, or maybe a little younger, I remember watching the controversy happening on TV with Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And that kind of stuff stuck with me, realizing, oh, our president did something bad. He's and that stuck with me. And now to see these kids growing up in this atmosphere, this political climate, and I like what I'm seeing, especially with Generation Z, where you guys really are, as a whole, understanding that, everything is bullcrap, and I want to learn myself and really dig into facts. Facts over feelings, to quote Ben.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the sad thing, though, is I realize, though, as for myself, being a millennial, and I've talked to a lot of people my same age within my specific generation, unfortunately, we were screwed up, man. We are all jacked up. Like really,
Yeah.
seriously, really. And it's any wonder why I haven't committed suicide already, you know. And I think I really I make light of it, and I know that's probably dark to like laugh about suicide, but you know, I find it's a way for me to at least overcome those dark emotions and dark feelings that I've experienced.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yes, I've been in those dark places where, you know, very, very, very close to wanting to just do it. And, you know, I'm not going to get into too much about that. But my point is that that's a prevalent theme with people my age. And I started to realize that it's our duty to overcome those challenges so that we can then help usher in the transition of the generation that came before us to the generation that's coming after us. Because if my generation, if the millennials don't get our shit together, if we don't get our act together soon, then there's going to be a gap there where, you know, after 2020, if Trump doesn't win again, the next president is more than likely going to be a democratic socialist. And that's a scary thought, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I worry about the Beto O'Rourke guy. He's like the white Obama.
Oh my gosh.
He has a lot of charisma with people, and he has the backing. I mean, he had like $70 million. I mean, he lost, but I mean, he has a lot of backing, and that is a real threat. I feel like to Trump. I mean, I don't know about you, but
yeah, I mean, I don't see that's where I'm really bad at is I'm not a political analyst. You know what I mean? So I'll notice things, I'll watch things, I'll satirize things, and obviously I have my opinions on certain stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I'd commend anybody. Like actually, I think a mutual friend or yeah person that we know, the guys that run Two Classy Gentlemen podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've known them for a long time.
Yeah, I was actually talking to him last night. We were, you know, we've got some stuff that we've been planning where I was going to do an exclusive Politipals character for his show. And so we're still doing some stuff about that. But we were actually just talking about all of this, and I commend him, you know, for doing what he does, where he really is trying his best to be a political analyst, you know, source certain things, call things out, give some projections of what he thinks certain, you know, the way the political climate's going to go. But I'm realizing I'm not like that. And, you know, he said something to me last night that really, you know, it stuck to me. And he's much younger than I am. He's actually closer to your age. But you could still learn things from people, you know, especially since he's been doing this and you've been doing this for how many years now?
About almost 3, almost like 2.5.
Yeah, so there's so much more experience you have than I have getting involved in all this. So just because I'm older than you doesn't mean I know everything. And so I'm learning a lot. And he said basically when I do start to get into like doing blogging or podcasting, just to, you know, try my best to source and fact check, but also stay in your lane, you know, kind of know what you're about, know who you are and what you bring to the table. And for me, it's definitely a very conversational thing. I want to just talk. I want to bridge the gap through communication, not debate, and realize that we're all people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I've never been the account to like debate anybody. I don't feel like that's my position, I guess. That's not what I'm here for. I just want to have a conversation about whatever's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
well,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you know, so with all the stuff that's happening, you know, like the border wall and, you know, with this, the whole shutdown, it's all making for some interesting, you know, comedy gold, as I say.
Like, how do you feel about the wall and like the government shutdown? Just to like close out the episode on that.
Yeah.
In a second, but
yeah, definitely. You know, I made an interesting little satire on this, and some people commented, and it does make me a little sad when I don't get the recognition I hope I want, but I try not to go out there with expectations. But right before Christmas, I did a little Christmas special animated video where I was parodying the little interaction between Donald Trump and Schumer in the Oval Office when they were discussing the border wall and right before the government shut down. And the whole eggnog. I called it the eggnog shutdown, where I equated the government, border security funding. I equated that to like having a Christmas party, and then I equated border security funding to eggnog at the Christmas party, and it was a fun little video. But
Yeah.
from that, I kind of began. I saw that little connection. I made the joke about it, and then I began getting into the facts behind it and opinions on it, and seeing how it's progressed through this government shutdown now. I'm more in the camp of, obviously I want the wall built, because I do believe in protecting our borders. I won't pretend to know much about the economics behind it, but it just seems to make sense that if you're stopping illegal immigration, if you're stopping drugs and crime, drugs and criminals from coming over the border, that's less money going into the resources that are put into finding those and deporting those people. And I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican myself, and so even being, I guess, looking at that as, oh, those are my kin, I realize, well, there are people that do come through the border, that do it legally, and good for them. This is not about them. This is about protecting the people that are here in the nation, and it has nothing to do with racism or anything like that. You can't even equate it to the Berlin Wall, because we are a way different country. We are a different country. There's a reason why people are coming here. So we should definitely build the wall, but I don't think necessarily that Trump should put it out as a national security and just do it anyway.
Yeah. I think we have to work something out together. And
yeah. To be honest, I think a best solution would be, secure the funding for border security. Like, just get some funding, and then allow the men and women that are at the border, the experts, the ones that are there on the front line, pretty much, allow some sort of representation from that group and from the people that are literally there every single day fighting this fight. Allow them to figure out where that money should be best spent. And I guarantee if they do that, the wall will be built.
Yeah, absolutely. It recently came out today, or like the other day, that the guy who made the fundraiser for Build the Wall, I guess they shut his page down because he's been known to start fundraisers like GoFundMe, and the money never went to the actual person. And he was using his veteran status to kind of be trustworthy. And I came out and said, the day of that came out, that GoFundMe, that I'm not going to donate because I just don't know how credible this guy is. I appreciate his service, and I respect what he did, but I just didn't feel like something was fishy going on. Like GoFundMe to build a wall. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that healthy level of skepticism is what keeps you, keeps your eyes open, keeps you focused on, what are those things that are happening. And I think we got to keep pushing that. If there was ever an agenda that needed to be pushed, it's an agenda of healthy skepticism and healthy, discourse, political discourse or ideological discourse.
Yeah.
Because you got to accept the fact that people are going to disagree with you, but a smart person can separate and realize the person is still a person, and I respect them as a person, but I may not agree with everything that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go, I just want to thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Before we go, just let everybody know where they can find you, just on Instagram and all your social medias.
Yeah, so the Politipals, you can find me. I do have a website, politipalsusa.com. That is hopefully eventually will be fleshed out and will be the hub of all the videos and comics I do. But for now, there's a link on there that you can check out the comics and videos on YouTube or Instagram. YouTube, it's just the Politipals USA, and Instagram, it's _Politipals.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate you joining me, and Thank you, and have a great day, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah, awesome.
Take care.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.